Greetings, folks, and welcome to Show 2 on electronic textbooks. We're trying to bring to you and to give you some idea of the movement that's beginning all over to convert from printed text to electronic text. And as you might imagine, Dr. Lawson, the director of Tullahoma Schools, is a bit of a techie himself, so it probably shouldn't surprise us that he's one of the first in Tennessee to get serious about this. And he has brought with him two staffers. Last show we heard from Miss Susan Sudbury, who is the teacher of teachers, and she introduced us to what's actually in the classroom. And so this time we're going to hear from Dr. Greg Carter. And but first off, Dr. Lawson, you want to give us a little brief intro into what we're doing? Tell the folks again what we're doing and how come?
Absolutely. There are three components to the plan that we're implementing here. First component is to develop a highway, an information highway on which we can acquire and deliver information. That is a parallel network, and we've checked that off our list. That's item number one. Item number two that we're looking at is how can we provide digital content. Ideally, digital content that's free. What we saw in the last program and what we will see in this program cost nothing except for the time of the developer. And certainly that's going to be an ongoing cost that we have. But the real advantage, as we saw last time, we got to see the landing of Curiosity that was less than a week old. That's unheard of in a publishing world. So we're providing for our students and students in our community the most cutting edge, the most recent, the most important information that's relevant to them at less of a cost. And then of course the third step is, what do we do? How do we provide delivery for those students in our community who can't afford and can't acquire their own technology? So that's the three prongs of this stool, or the three legs of this stool that we're dealing with in technology. Okay.
With that, well, how about what are you expecting from Dr. Carter?
Yeah, here's what I'm expecting. Truly what I expect of almost everyone. I articulate a vision, I carry out and really share a vision of a board, share a vision of a community, share a set of needs, and then I find very, very bright people like Susan and Dr. Carter to carry out that vision. So what I expect Greg to do today is to share with the viewers some ideas of tools that are available right now.
Okay. Well, that, folks, let's take a short commercial break and we'll hear from Dr. Carter.
Sit back.
The highest standard of trust offers a sense of safety and comfort. It's established over time. You know when you see it. You know when you feel it. There's a standard of trust in healthcare. It's the Joint Commission Gold Seal of Approval. In 2003, Life Care Center of Tullahoma voluntarily achieved this accreditation and maintains it still today. Life Care, meeting a higher standard because residents matter most.
This is J.D. Oliver here at the Smokehouse on Mount Eagle Mountain. My sisters Betsy, Nancy, and I'd like to thank you for supporting our family business for over 50 years.
Hello, this is Stella Parton, and I am standing here right in the middle of Jim Oliver's Smokehouse restaurant. But you need to come in here. We just got through doing a show. We also have a music scene going on here, and I want to invite you to come down because it is your mountain destination. Music on the Mountain in Mount Eagle, Tennessee.
My name's Betsy Oliver. I'm the kitchen manager here. We serve a lot of ribs and barbecue and fried chicken.
Hey, this is Sean Mayer, and I just want to let everybody know to stop in at the Smokehouse if you're ever on your way to Chattanooga or Nashville. They not only have a great gift shop, awesome food, great entertainment on Saturday nights, but beautiful cabins to stay in. Check it out.
Make the Smokehouse your mountain getaway destination. Stay in one of our 84 lodge rooms and 20 timber frame log cabins. Look around our trading posts and eat in our delicious restaurant. Enjoy music on the mountain every Saturday night featuring the best of Nashville. Our family hopes to see you this year at Jim Oliver Smokehouse.
We're back, folks, and we're talking today about electronic textbooks. And we have a couple of three experts with us. Dr. Dan Lawson has joined us again and brought with him Dr. Greg Carter and Miss Susan Sudbury. Last show we heard from Miss Sudbury, and this time we're going to hear more from Dr. Carter. So, Dr. Carter, tell them what you're up to.
Well, in science, and sometimes in education, we often see moments in time when we take a leap forward rather than a small move forward in progress. We are at the point where using technology available, using resources available today, we can take one of those leaps forward in education and in fact use technology to personalize the process of learning for each student, whether they be an advanced student or a student who struggles. The specific item I want to show today and share with folks is
that's an important point, and if you're individualizing, how in the world do you get around the classroom, you know, with 20, 25 students in it?
Technology allows us to flip that normal operation in the classroom. We're able to use technology, or will be able to use technology, to have the students have the material with them on demand to watch or read as many times as they need to, and then the teacher can spend more time with each individual student practicing or accelerating depending on the student need. The part that I want to show today is Khan Academy. This is something our students are using today in our classrooms at the elementary level and at the high school level. And it basically is a free library of excellent educational lessons on a number of subjects. And we're going to go back to the beginning of the presentation.
Talk a little bit more about that. Who's Dr. Khan? Where does this come from?
Salman Khan actually was, I believe, an MBA graduate of MIT, maybe Harvard. So. Started tutoring some cousins across the country and used a YouTube type format to start tutoring his cousins. It took off from there. He saw the use in it. Eventually, foundations get involved, and that's what a little bit of my presentation later will entail.
Okay, good.
If you could imagine a world, an educational system where every single student, no matter what their address may be, gets a truly world-class education. The best information, the most current information, in a format that's easily accessed and can be manipulated by that student as many times as they see fit. You might need a lesson one time, I may need it 20 times. The format,
probably going to be the reverse, but okay.
Very well could be. The Khan Academy videos that we will show here shortly demonstrate how easily a student can access that information, or an adult, use the information as many times as they need so that they may progress no matter what their ability is at the beginning.
And we think the real exciting thing about this is the fact that our students go home and they have some specific objectives to work on. Khan and others. Now there are several others, but Khan and others provides for our students an opportunity to relearn, to reinforce those things that they're working on in the classroom every day. And too often we hear the concern from parents, I've not had that class in 25 years, I don't remember. Khan provides an environment where a parent and child sit down and jointly learn and have a clear, explicit definition and explanation of the activity.
I was going to ask, you know, what are you going to do about training the parents?
Well, and I think that hits on a great point. And Greg, I'm sorry to jump in here, but we've got folks who go to Khan Academy today to prepare for an MCAT. We've got folks at our high school level who go to Khan Academy to prepare for their SAT. We've got adult learners right now using Khan and Khan-like resources in their lives and in their preparation, much like you or I go to the internet today to find out things that we want to learn.
Okay. Well, let's not take too much time from Greg. That gives me another question. Maybe we'll have time for...
I think it's important to generalize something. That technology's finally evolved to where we can harness the resources of the worldwide internet, the video element, and bring it into one space where a student, a family can have access to it, use it as they see fit. The point that I try to make often is it's time to get real when we think about technology in the classroom. We've got to get rid of these 40, 50-pound backpacks on our students' backs. If you've ever been at a pickup line or a drop-off line, you see those huge backpacks and they're banging the minivans and the kids are just too much weight on their back. And we've also got to realize and accept our students are digital natives. They were born in the middle of the technology revolution that most of us are trying to catch up to. Those digital natives, they may video game, they may chat, they may Facebook, but they also expect everything else to be in a digital format. And we need to recognize that and run with it, use it to our advantage. Flipping education is probably the thing that I think is most important. We need our students to have access to the lessons, the video, the rich content all the time. So that student who needs to see something 12 or 15 times has that ability and is not embarrassed in the classroom. And for the middle schooler who's very bright and doesn't want to be noticed as such, they can move ahead in the curriculum. They can find extra resources. We can then focus on what folks actually need instead of what today's lesson plan says we ought to be doing. I want to point out Khan Academy, I mentioned earlier, has been embraced by the education world for sure, but also Bill Gates. And I want to show a quick video.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Sal Khan. I'm the founder and faculty of the Khan Academy, and we're trying to educate the world. Welcome to the presentation on Basic Addition.
But in August of 1789, they've already done their version of the Declaration of Independence. And the process is called photosynthesis.
I was tutoring my cousins, literally, and I had to kind of figure out a way to scale myself up, so I started recording YouTube videos, and I started making little software modules for them, but I made it so anyone could use them and started getting a lot of traction.
What Sal Khan has done is amazing. He's taken all this material and broken them down into little 12-minute lectures. I use it myself to remind myself of things. I have children who like it. So I was super happy he came up and we got to talk about where does he go now? How can my foundation help him pursue this dream and connect it up with the other great things going on the internet?
I want it to be a standalone virtual school where anyone in the world who wants to learn anything can go there, start from the basics, progress as far as they need to go, get feedback, get assessment, get practice, and eventually I want it to actually become the operating system for what goes on in the classroom, where every student's allowed to work at their own pace and the teacher actually becomes more of a mentor or of a coach.
So I see Sal Khan as a pioneer in an overall movement to use technology to let more and more people learn things, know where they stand. It's the start of a revolution.
All the videos are all free, openly accessible, www.khanacademy.org.
I think it's a huge contribution. Everybody should check it out.
I think it's important to realize we can have every student learning at their very specific pace. And they can be tracked, they can be coached, they can have intervention as necessary through the use of technology.
You think, we hear a lot about the fact that we allow students to go on when they really are not ready. Do you see this as allowing you to make a quantum leap in that you're going to be able to bring them up to the level that they can pass on legitimately?
Excellent point, and I would answer yes. This kind of technology, not just Khan Academy, not just a Flexbook, but the overall approach allows a student to start where they are, over and over have those resources, have that intervention, have that extra work as necessary until they get it and move forward. Instead of, we had a day allotted for this, come back tomorrow after school and we'll see if we can catch you up.
Okay, very good. Well, with that, folks, we need to take a short commercial break, and we'll come back and finish up.
Hi, Grandma. It's Jake. I'm calling to tell you I love you more than anything in the whole wide world, even ice cream. I love you more than spaghetti and meatballs. I love you more than snakes and monkeys and sharks and whales and praying mantises. Bye, Grandma. Love you.
Let it all in with Charter Phone, including unlimited local and long-distance calls.
We're back, folks, and we've been talking today with the Tullahoma folks who are in the middle of converting us to electronic textbooks. Dr. Dan Lawson has been with us, and he's brought with him two of his staffers who are very deeply involved in this. We heard from Miss Susan Sudbury in the first portion, who brought us sort of into the classroom. And this time we have Dr. Greg Carter, who is talking a little bit more about resources. So, Greg, carry on.
I think I'd want to just pause just a second and point out something that might be overlooked because of how exciting it is to think about a digital textbook or a device in students' hands. That's wonderful. It's part of the modality. But it's huge to keep in mind that this technology, this approach, will actually personalize the education, will humanize the education process, because it will allow teachers to sit down with students who need them right then. And for those students who are able to move on, they can move on at the pace they need to. That's a point that can be overlooked. And to me, I think that's the most important part. We can have students learning in the modality they prefer. We can have any number of activities going on in the classroom, and no one would feel out of place or behind.
Okay. Does Cisco show up in test scores?
You might want to discuss the Utah experience.
Yeah, it's a great question. No, it's a great question, because Utah really asked that question about the open source environment. Utah decided we're going to go to an open source digital content, and instead of the regular textbook, go to that open source. So what they did, instead of putting it on a computer, they put it on pieces of paper that Kinko printed for them. The average textbook cost about $5.50, and what they compared was the traditional textbook to the textbook produced at Kinko's in a 3-ring binder, and what they found was this. The 3-ring binder textbook was something that the kids marked up, they circled, they put a star next to, they underlined. It became theirs, and their performance was better in the open source environment than it was in the other environment. Is this a magic bullet? Not at all. Is it an opportunity? We certainly believe it is.
Okay, continue on, Greg.
As we move to the next slide in the presentation, I'm going to point out we're going to see another video focusing on Khan Academy that discusses that personalization, that humanization, and also your point of moving students on, whether they're ready or not. I think Salman Khan does the best explanation of how that can be accomplished of anyone that I've seen. So if we'll watch this video.
Okay.
So, when you talk about self-paced learning, it makes sense for everyone. In education speak, differentiated learning. But it's kind of crazy what happens when you actually see it in a classroom. Because every time we've done this, in every classroom we've done, over and over again, if you go 5 days into it, there's a group of kids who've raced ahead, and there's a group of kids who are a little bit slower. And in a traditional model, if you did a snapshot assessment, you say, oh, these are the gifted kids, these are the slow kids. Maybe they should be tracked differently. Maybe we should put them in different classes. But when you let every student work at their own pace, and we see it over and over and over again, you see students who took a little bit extra time on one concept or the other, but once they get through that concept, they just race ahead. And so the same kids that you thought were slow 6 weeks ago, you now would think are gifted. And we're seeing it over and over and over again. And it makes you really wonder kind of how much all of the labels, maybe a lot of us have benefited from, were really just due to a coincidence of time. Now, as valuable as something like this is in a district like Los Altos, our goal is to use technology to humanize, not just in Los Altos, but kind of on a global scale, what's happening in education. And actually, that kind of brings an interesting point, is that, you know, a lot of the effort in humanizing the classroom is focused on student-to-teacher ratios. In our mind, the relevant metric is student to valuable human time with the teacher ratio. So in a traditional model, most of the teacher's time is spent doing lectures and grading tests and whatnot. Maybe 5% of their time is actually sitting next to students and actually working with them. Now 100% of their time is. So once again, using technology, not just flipping the classroom, you're humanizing the classroom, I'd argue, by a factor of 5 or 10. And as valuable as it is in Los Altos, imagine what that does to the adult.
I think it's important to realize we can accelerate every student's learning path through the use of technology in a way that makes the process much more personal for every student.
Well, we're going to wind up eliminating grades.
You know, we hope we're a lot more focused on standards than we are on grades, because if you look back at that presentation that Salcon did, you saw a number of dots along that continuum. Each of those dots represented a standard that was to be taught. We certainly hope that in school, just as in life, we're focused on meeting the standards, meeting our goals, meeting our objectives, rather than some artificial construct that's grades. Now, I know that that's not a terribly popular dialogue or discussion. I know that's somewhat problematic when we reach that. But our real focus is developing literate, articulate, competent learners as they leave our school system. And by the way, it's real easy to think about this with a population that's between 5 and 18. And that's a quite naive view, because I think that when we think about some of the accessibility tools available, my eyesight is not what it was 30 years ago. And my guess is 30 years from now, it's not going to be what it is today. Today in technology, I have accessibility tools that will allow a book to be read to me should I need that. That will allow me to enlarge print should I need that. That will allow me to research, do that search, and my computer talk to me should I need that. Those are tools that aren't for the population of 5 to 18. Those are tools for a community and for a generation.
Okay. Well, this all sounds very marvelous. There must be a downside in here somewhere.
You know, there are a couple of downsides. The downside of moving from status quo to stepping out on some ice and not really being sure how thick that ice is a bit disconcerting. The downside of taking a couple of folks who are on my left here who are working their tails off in their current job, and then some old guy says to them, you know, here would be a really neat thing for us to do as a community. Let's make this happen. And I just grab a shovel and dump a bunch of work on them in concert with what they're doing right now. That's a challenge. The downside of a generation in our community who have lived and understood textbooks transitioning to something that doesn't have that is going to be a change and a challenge. Change will have an implementation dip. Change will be uncomfortable. But change in this case will be terribly beneficial to our community. We think this is a recruitment device for our community. We think this is a recruitment device for our school system. And we think this better prepares our kids as they transition.
Marvelous.
Just write the check, right?
Yeah, right. You have, all of you have done a really good job, and I think you know, we really have to recognize that this is making a dramatic change in the way education is delivered, and there's going to be a lot of learning for everybody to get through on this. So I mentioned a little earlier, and I guess I still have a little bit of a concern. Well, in the first place, you're going to need money. So have you trained a board of mayor and aldermen yet?
We are dialoguing. We're not training anyone. We're dialoguing and hoping to help folks be aware.
Okay. Well, looks like we've run out of time, folks. We're going to have to take a short commercial break and wrap it up.
Mark, you've won just about everything there is to win in racing. What's next?
I'd like more people to know about ER Extra.
The emergency room at Harton Regional Medical Center?
I just want them to get the best care they can get.
That just gets me right here, Mark.
Maybe you'd like to pay them a visit.
ER Extra at Harton Regional Medical Center.
ER Extra. Extra fast, extra easy, extra great.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
We've been talking today about going to electronic text, and we've had Dr. Dan Lawson, Director of Tullahoma Schools, Dr. Greg Carter, who is the Director of Personnel and very much involved in the materials development of this arena, and Ms. Susan Sudbury, who has been selected to take on the awesome job of training all the teachers how to get into this. And both of them have done a really excellent job, and we do appreciate their doing this. It's a tremendous change in the education system and the way we deliver education, and we all need to stay tuned, and because there's more to come, and we all have a lot to learn. Dr. Larson, you have a final word?
I always have something to say. We've got a great community with great expectations as to where our kids go. I'm blessed in the fact that we have skilled professionals to carry out this vision, and I'm blessed with the fact that we've got a community that has great expectations. So we're looking forward to that ride.
Good. Well, I want to thank the three of you for taking time to come in. I know this is out of a very busy schedule, the school year just beginning. But we do appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed it, folks, because and those of you in the outlying community, if your school board isn't talking about this yet, it won't be long. So pay attention, and we're delighted to have brought it to you. See you next time.